Dr. Ekuru Aukot, former director of the Committee of Experts and former chairperson of the IEBC selection panel. Welcome to the JSO interview.
Thank you very much, JSO.
I think it's time for us to reflect on past events. We've given you two significant directorships: director of the formulation of our new constitution, director of the people who, or selector of the people who ran our recently ended elections.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the IEBC and calling you the chair of the selection panel. As you saw the elections unfold, were you, in a word, happy with what you saw and the conduct of the people you had selected?
I had mixed reactions. On the one hand, it was an event that had to come and go, and I was hoping that the best could be done under the circumstances. But I was also unhappy because, as you probably will recall, along the line there was a clear admission that they made mistakes. I went to vote in my village in Kapedo, for example. Things collapsed, nothing was happening, time was not observed. So the promises that that the IEBC had given.
But let's go back. The criticism was that, at least in the press, is that there had been a trial run of the conduct of the elections. There had been a trial run, and it had failed lamentably. So we went into the process knowing that, that the trial run, the TRISEC, had failed.
That's true. And which is why, for me, I'm saying, on the one hand, I was really disappointed to some extent because the IEBC enjoyed a lot of public support. I mean, you remember they started with the question of money, financing, and everybody said give them because people had a lot of faith in them. I chaired the panel that selected the IEBC, and we were probably the most transparent panel ever in the history of Kenya, and I still want to challenge anybody to meet our standard. We published an advert in which we wanted a certain character and type of leadership. All these 9 men and women who are now running our election actually passed that test. We broadcasted their interviews broadly. We asked Kenyans to give us views about them. So when things went the way they were during the election time, I was disappointed because we expected that this is a caliber of people who will perform certain things beyond, above board. For example, the committees that were selected thereafter to try and resolve the election malpractices were merely decorative. They really did not, in my view, interpret the Constitution. They failed to interpret Chapter 6 because there was a question of qualifications. They allowed people to change parties almost at the 24th hour. So that really rendered the whole...
So, but the bigger question is this whole idea of integrity. To what extent, having interviewed me and I having made an impression upon you, can you actually vouch for my integrity?
Well, you can vouch on integrity because, what we asked people to prove before the panel was, for example, have they done certain things, issues to do with corruption, certificate of
track record.
Yes, there's
up
a track
until
record.
now, I've been a good person.
And we had evidence.
Right.
We had no reason, John, to punish anybody based on what we saw. Right. There are people, as you'll recall, we dismissed on the floor of the interview because they had not paid their taxes. They had not paid our education loans board. There are integrity issues around them in the manner in which they behaved. We dismissed people. So the people we finally selected clearly had passed.
Right.
And that was the measure we had to apply. So I had every confidence that process, I'll protect that and I'll defend that process the last minute, John.
Let us we don't have time to go into the minutiae of things. There are calls, or there have been, one of the lines of questioning is that the IEBC, these 9 men of integrity whom you chose,
and a woman,
yes, and a woman, ought to be disbanded in the next. So we've got to start from scratch because they haven't been up to scratch. Yeah,
I think for me, I will not entirely go for the disbandment of the IEBC. I think if you disband people, they get away with mistakes, they get away with their sins, like in ECK. Because of the manner in which ECK mismanaged the election and caused killings and caused the division in this country.
Right, you're talking about the Electoral Commission of Kenya, which was the forerunner of the
Electoral
IEBC.
Commission of Kenya.
Right.
What did we do? We emotionally say disband them. They got away with so many things. What I would like to see happen, even with IEBC, before we disband anybody, can we find these people culpable? Can we find them? Can we call them to account for their actions? And I would like to see the Elections Act being applied to the letter and the spirit of it. That we want to see somebody go to jail, because Ahmed Isaac himself many times gave speeches and said the law has now changed so much so that if you committed an electoral offense,
yes,
you go to jail and also be fined.
Right.
So what I would like to see, instead of people saying just disband them, can we now really pin these people down on the mistakes they have done?
So you're suggesting another commission, with
really.
perhaps you as director, being paid lots of money to take people to jail for past mistakes.
That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is we have intelligence services in this country.
Right.
We have got the criminal investigation department in this country. We have the police, people who witness the kind of things that happened. I mean, I think that's sufficient enough to say Ahmed Isaac or whoever it was, as a presiding officer, you did A, B, C, D. It's not enough, John, to keep on seeing a voter being jailed because he was given 2 ballot boxes. Who gave him the 2 ballot boxes? Somebody in IEBC gave that fellow the 2 ballot boxes. Right. So honestly, we are frying the small fish.
But if you're talking about the frailty of the human condition, you can find an individual, but you can see yourself the day after in those very shoes. So in other words, if you're saying go after people in their integrity, you would say in this forum that your own integrity, my own integrity, the Christian ethos of who shall cast the stone, surely maybe we're all tainted, including yourself.
Well, yeah, we could be tainted, but see, don't just, in a blanket from, say,
Ekuru Aukot. You weren't the head of, so nobody's going to go after you because you said go on with the job. Well, you could be tainted as chairman of this election.
You could, yes, and find that fault and accuse me, Ekuru, and tell me, Ekuru, you are tainted because of A, B, C, D. In the absence of that, you cannot just wake up one morning and say, John, you are a tainted man and therefore we crucify you. You must predicate that within some actions that I've done or omissions or commissions of my actions. I mean, that's what you need to do. In the case of IEBC, we've had admissions on their own part that certain things went wrong. Now, a serious audit ought to take place, of that process, of the individuals. To what extent can they take responsibility? The beauty of our new constitution, which creates IEBC, because IEBC is a creature of the constitution, is that there are provisions in the constitution that even requires people to take personal responsibility. Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity is a key chapter of the constitution.
Right.
I mean, national values and principles of governance in Article 10, very key. If Ahmed Isaac really feels that something went fundamentally wrong in the manner in which I executed my constitutional right, I mean, it's only honorable to say, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. In other jurisdictions, which we copy, governance structures, there is a principle, or we call it the convention of resignation. The moment people doubt your public office holding, you quit, because you cannot continue to bring disrepute to that public office you are holding. And those the exact words that are in chapter 6. But who lives with the spirit and even letter of this constitution?
Right. I think, point taken.
Yeah.
I think we have to move on because and look at you as the former director of the Committee of Experts.
Yeah.
And now this is the focus on the implementation of the Constitution. And you were the CEO who brought together a group of eminent persons to come up with a new Constitution.
That's correct.
Lots of things seem to be going wrong in the first couple of months of the implementation of a new administration. You're a constitutional lawyer, you're a doctor of laws. Weren't you again able to predict some of the bottlenecks here and put in a clause to preempt them?
Let me say this, John. If I was writing Kenya's constitution today, again, I would not leave anything to chance.
So you're admitting that there are mistakes in it?
I mean, obviously, the manner in which it's being implemented, the mannerisms, the conduct of the people who are bestowed with the responsibility to ensure Kenyans realize the fruits, the dreams, the aspirations of this constitution.
A constitution which was meant to give power to the people.
Exactly.
But I'm criticizing you. I'm criticizing you as the legal eagle, the shrewd constitutional lawyer. Why didn't you sort out the problems before they emerged?
Listen.
In legal terms. If you'd been a mathematician or a scientist taking a flight to the moon, would you say I miscalculated and
let
that's
me tell
why?
you, no, we did that, John. We did that. I mean, this constitution is been praised as probably one of the most revolutionary and progressive constitutions. I mean, I have I have been to many countries since to talk to them about the Kenyan constitutional process. So nobody should doubt the import of this new constitution. But these are the problems.
Yeah, but